Hey folks, I'm here on St. Simons Island, Georgia. Tomorrow, my wife and I are going to Cumberland Island to do some touring around. It should be fun, but today we had dinner at Iguanas in St. Simons Island. As you remember, this is the area where the Golden Race shipwreck happened a few years ago. But tomorrow we will keep you posted on our journey to Cumberland Island, Georgia. All right, as promised, we are on the ferry to Cumberland Island, Georgia. How's everyone today? And it's going to be interesting when we get to Cumberland Island. All right, as promised, we are on the ferry to Cumberland Island, Georgia. How's everyone today? And it's going to be interesting when we get to Cumberland Island. Cumberland Island, Georgia. Okay, so the ferry just let us off. We're at our first stop before we get on the van tour. Yep, we're gonna take the Land of Legacy tour. We're here on Cumberland Island. There's the ferry that let us off. There it is, through the woods. And here comes my boo-boo. We're about to take the van tour, the Land of Legacy tour, right, boo-boo?
Yep.
Where are we, at Cumberland Island?
Yep.
Did we see some wild horses? What were they doing?
Walking around.
Yes.
Car sick. I mean, just any kind of feeling bad. Just please let me know as soon as you can. You know, we are going to be in the wilderness, so if I have to get medical help, it's going to take a few minutes to get there, so let me know as soon as you can. I am going to ask that you all take your cell phones and put them on silent or vibrate so they don't go off in the van. I'll be talking on the PA system, and if your phone's going off and you're carrying on conversation, it's going to be hard for the other folks to hear. So
okay.
Just from that standpoint, if you would keep them silent for me. You might have heard of the folks that own this piece of property. Their last name is Rockefeller. And a little bit later today, I'll tell you how they actually came to the island. Now, I have to watch the road today, just for things that get out of the way or whatever. So y'all have to be my eyes for all of the wildlife. And if you see something, just like I said, just yell it out in a direction like horse 3 o'clock or whatever. Because most of the people that come to the island are here to see the wildlife. That's part of the reason. So don't let my talking miss somebody else in the van from being able to see that same wildlife that you saw, because sometimes it's pretty fleeting, like the wild pigs or the deer or whatever. They'll disappear pretty quick if you don't just yell it out where they're at. So make sure y'all do that. There is a lot of wildlife on the island. In particular, we have our feral horses, about 120 to 150 year in and year out. They count them every March, and that population stays pretty consistent. They are wild animals and are treated as such. They get no special treatment. Treated just like the squirrels and anything else on the island. Things you might see today besides the horses: coyote, bobcat, wild turkey, wild pig, of course armadillo and raccoons and possums and all those kinds of things. Deer. Also, we have deer on the island.
Bear.
We have a special family of deer. I'll tell you about them in just a minute. Now, this is the entrance to Grayfield Inn. It did not used to be Grayfield Inn. It used to just be Grayfield. When Margaret Carnegie married Oliver Rickerson, her mom, Lucy, gave them this piece of property and $10,000 to build a home. And they built Grayfield. Their descendant, Lucy R. Ferguson, in the 60s would turn it into Grayfield Inn just to keep it up and running and going. Her descendants, Mary and Mittie Ferguson, now run Grayfield Inn, along with 2 of their descendants. Those 4 people are 4 of the 5 people on the island we call permanent residents. There's only one other one. We'll talk about her a little bit later. Now we have folks that live on the island. They're over here on maintenance contracts, 1 year, 2 year assignments, that kind of things. But they have a definite beginning and end to when they're here, so we don't count them as permanent residents. We have the retained rights folks and the private folks, but they're in and out. They even rent their properties out sometimes and stuff like that. So we don't count them as permanent residents. It's just those 5 people, the 4 people working here at Grayfield and the other lady that we'll talk about later that we consider permanent residents on the island. They did have their sister helping them for a while. Her name was Gogo Ferguson. She's more into her jewelry now. She has a jewelry store in Savannah. You can go online and buy her jewelry. Most of her jewelry is made from stuff on the island. But she still comes and helps them every now and then, but primarily it's just Mitty and Mary and their 2 descendants. You can get a room here at the Grayfield. Minimum 2 nights stay during the off season. Minimum 3 nights stay during. This is usually the best opportunity to see wildlife down in here. But I'm not seeing all of.
Here, take my camera, shoot, try to get it clean. There's scratches.
So kind of remember what this looks like today. This is the first tidal bridge we're going over now. It'll be the last one this afternoon when we're coming back. Right after we leave Plum Orchard, we'll come over here just to be able to tell the difference between low and high, maybe low and high tide if we're lucky. But this is the one where we usually see the biggest difference.
What are you seeing here, Bill?
I just really want you to focus between the way it looks now and the way it'll look this afternoon when we leave Plum Orchard and come back, because the tide's going to be different.
But wildlife, what would you see?
Wildlife in here, what I've seen in here is raccoon, horses, alligator. I've seen 1 pig in here before.
Pretty much on low tide.
Yeah, but almost always at low tide. Yeah.
Where'd you see those white deer?
Over on the other side of the island.
Okay.
Yeah. If we get lucky, we'll see them today. I feel, like I said, I've seen them 1 time. But I've been out here when they've been seen more than that, just my group just didn't see them, you know. Now, a lot of the tour guides come up here and this is usually the best opportunity to see wildlife down in here. But I'm not seeing all of.
Here, take my camera, shoot, try to get it clean. There's scratches.
So kind of remember what this looks like today. This is the first tidal bridge we're going over now. It'll be the last one this afternoon when we're coming back. Right after we leave Plum Orchard, we'll come over here just to be able to tell the difference between low and high, maybe low and high tide if we're lucky. But this is the one where we usually see the biggest difference.
What are you seeing here, Bill?
I just really want you to focus between the way it looks now and the way it'll look this afternoon when we leave Plum Orchard and come back, because the tide's going to be different.
But wildlife, what would you see?
Wildlife in here, what I've seen in here is raccoon, horses, alligator. I've seen 1 pig in here before.
Pretty much on low tide.
Yeah, but almost always at low tide. Yeah.
Where'd you see those white deer?
Over on the other side of the island.
Okay.
Yeah. If we get lucky, we'll see them today. I feel, like I said, I've seen them 1 time. But I've been out here when they've been seen more than that, just my group just didn't see them, you know. Now, a lot of the tour guides come up here and the attorney that handles that paperwork is named Thornton Morris. He puts in the paperwork that he be given a piece of property on Cumberland Island as part of his payment. Smart man, that's his home. Well, it's actually his son's home now because he's passed away, but
He died.
Yep, he died.
He was a man.
But pretty smart guy to work that into the deal. Great spot, and that is private property, not retained rights property.
So that was that private sign last private sign we just passed?
Nope, it's coming up here. That was another owner. entrance to his place is right up here. Yep. Yep. And there's a story behind that I'll tell you this afternoon.
Must have been fun laying that out.
Oh, don't you know it? This is the entrance to his place.
That's it. Right on the water.
Oh yeah, he's got a great spot. Anyway, so the Great Depression happens. 5 of these 6 businessmen say, you know, maybe we really can't afford the luxury of this private hunting lodge anymore. The 6th guy steps up and says, not a problem, I'll buy you guys out. And he did. And his family still owns that piece of property to this day, along with another piece of property on the island, a piece of beachfront property. Altogether, they own about 1,000 acres. About every 4 or 5 years, they try to talk the Park Services and Camden County and the City of St. Mary's into the wonderful idea of letting them build a little small resort on that beachfront property. So far to this point, they have not been successful. Bill Floyd opinion, I hope they never are.
Right.
You can go anywhere in the U.S. and stay at a luxury hotel and, you know, live in high style in the lap of luxury, for whatever you want to call it, for a couple weeks or however long you want. But there's very few places left in the country, bumpy roads and all, where you can drive through and experience a wilderness environment like this. Even the smallest resort is going to impact the ecological makeup of the island. It's going to impact the wildlife. It's going to cause there to be more people over here all the time. I just hope it never happens, you know.
Yeah. That's exactly it.
But now his name, the guy that bought the property, his name was Candler. Does that ring a bell to anybody?
Yep,
Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola.
Yep. Coca-Cola.
Oh, it's so windy up here. Still on Cumberland Island, we're at the wharf. Dang it. Is this where you said you can see Jekyll Island from here?
I'll point it out to you in a minute.
Wow. You can see Jekyll from here.
Where? Right there?
No, he's been pointing out.
Absolutely my favorite spot on the island. I mean, if I could build a home right here. You can't see the video. A little bit further back, you'd be able to see those trash piles. You can see the remnants of the wharf over here to the left. Pieces of wood sticking up out of the ground. They would take that horse-drawn trolley, from the island end, bring it all the way over here, lower it down this embankment, pick up those passengers and their luggage, pull it back up the embankment. Pretty amazing feat back then. And then go to the hotel from here and bring them back from around here. Now, some of the landmarks. Let's see the bridge about 1 o'clock. That's the Sidney Lanier Bridge, tallest, longest bridge in the state of Georgia. Opened up in 2003. Next, Brunswick to Jekyll Island. 3 water towers divide the bridge. That is Jekyll Island. Then we've got the Cumberland River between them. Another little shot of land right here. Now this little Cumberland, privately owned island. You can buy a piece of property and build a home there. Yeah, but everybody over there says you can buy the piece of property and build a home. Now, it's not for the reason you think. It doesn't have to do with money. It has to do with them wanting to protect the island. They agree with what you're to do with that piece of land and the type standpoint, there's no issues. But a lot of people think, oh, well, it's just about the money. It's not about the money at all. You can get from Little Cumberland to Cumberland Island by foot. So they say. You've seen what low tide looks like. We wouldn't make it. You know, it'd be very muddy when you got there. At high tide, the body of land that separates it is called Christmas Creek. Christmas Creek is set at the highest location on the river. So low tides, high tide, they decimate. We have seen sharks out here before. Normally we'll see dolphins and what have you, but we have seen sharks. Now, this is a great photo op spot, even though it's a little overcast. If anybody wants to give me
The side of the barn is her home. She's the only person that lives in the settlement. She's our 5th permanent resident, like we said. So if you look over here to our left again, you're going to see a sign that says Alberti House Restrooms.
Yeah.
Go up those stairs. As you go in the door, the men's restroom's immediately to the left. The ladies' restroom is in the next room to the right. I'll go in there and get the lights turned on for you as well. But just walk through the home. Take a few minutes. It's about not quite 11:45 right now. If everybody could meet me at this picnic table at 5 minutes to 12, okay, we'll go to the church as a group.
Let's get going.
This one, your first time to do it?
Yeah, this is my first
Me
time.
too. Fun. Help you, baby.
What days do you typically do it? Is it just Friday
No, I do it.
throughout the week too?
Yeah. I'm only supposed to be doing it about 3 or
She designed their wedding bands out of rattlesnake from the island. All of her jewelry is made from things from the island. Somebody asked her a few years later, can you recreate those wedding bands? And she said, no, those were one-time thing. I'm not doing them for anybody else. To keep them special, But she was working at Grayfield at the time. She would reach out to all the people that had reservations. This was in September of '96, around September 21st time frame. Said, look, we've got a private event going on. I have to cancel your reservations. But to make it up to you, you can rebook it any time in the future when we have a vacancy, and your stay will be free of charge. Not a bad deal, All of her employees would have to sign non-disclosure agreements. The couple people in St. Mary's that were involved with it had to sign non-disclosure agreements. Best kept secret ever. A lot better than our military secrets. Unfortunately. So, the guy that sang at the wedding, his name was David Davies. He was from Amelia Island. The day he showed up to the wedding, he didn't even know who he was singing for. He just knew he was singing for a wedding at Cumberland Island. They get married September '96. July of '99, the tragic plane crash that takes their life. 5 years later, he comes back to the island and sings Amazing Grace, one of the songs he sang at the wedding, just to recreate the moment. Which is kind of cool. On Junior's end, he tells everybody that he wants to be at the wedding. All right, so we're going somewhere September '96, or this year. This is the day you need to meet me at the airport. This is how you need to pack. When you get there, I'll tell you more. They show up at the airfield. He says, okay, we're going to get in the plane. We're going to fly down to South Georgia. When we get there, I'll tell you more. I'm just not that trusting. I'm sorry. I want to know where I was going and what I was doing. But that's how I handle it. Somebody said, why wouldn't you tell your family? Why didn't you tell them what was going on? He said, the last person I wanted to share a secret with was another Kennedy. It's going to get out, So they show up in South Georgia. He said, we're going to get in these vehicles that I've got rented. Going to go get on a ferry, and we're going to go over and stay at Grayfield. They get to Grayfield. Then and only then, as the story goes, some of this is as the story goes, then and only then does he say, oh, by the way, Carol and I are getting married tomorrow, and y'all are all invited. So, it's the day of the wedding. 44 total people invited. They're going to get here a little bit early, because the bride and groom have to make an entrance. Wedding's going to be at 3 o'clock. They get here at 2:30, 2:45. I told you how they got here, by boat over to the little beach, and then they were brought up that little short distance. You saw how they were dressed in the pictures in the book. Men had on coats and ties, suits, what have you. Ladies, nice dresses. 44 total people. Well, the way we're set up, we can't hold 44 people. They had to slide the pews up and put some of those really comfortable folding metal chairs in the back for people to sit on. Did you see Arnold Schwarzenegger sitting in one of those little metal chairs? So they get here a little bit early. 3 o'clock. No groom. Well, they expected that. Junior was notoriously late. It was like his mantra in life. The day of the plane crash, they were late. He says, and the pilot couldn't stay. He said, well, that's okay. He says, I can fly. I've got a pilot's license, which he did, but he couldn't fly at night and instrumentation, whatever. But that's another story. So, they expected it to be late, no big deal. 4 o'clock, no groom. But now you saw how they were dressed. It's September. A little sweaty. A little hot in here. They've got the doors open. A little ventilation. Now the no-see-ums are coming in, so they're getting bug bit. So they're hot, they're sweaty, and now they're bug bit. 5 o'clock, no groom. Wow. Finally, a little bit after 5, he shows up. Now I can see Ted Kennedy. You know, he's probably sitting in this first pew about this close to the pulpit. That big old 45-pound head of his, you know. Jumping up. Where the hell have you been? We've been waiting for you for... Uncle, calm down. Calm down. I wasn't getting married without my dad's cufflinks, and it took me that long to find him. He was wearing JFK's cufflinks when he got married. Now, the rest of the story was he also forgot to pack a white shirt. So in September of '96, they're trying to find a white shirt in downtown St. Mary's. Not an easy thing to do. But the main thing was the cufflinks. So he's here. They could finally have the ceremony. No bride. She shows up a few minutes later. Now the story behind her. She's wearing a designer gown, as you would expect. I mean, you know, it was a Vera Wang. You've been very curious. Gets fitted for it. In the north, in New York, in the winter. It's a slip-on dress, no buttons, no zippers. She's now in South Georgia in September. She can't get in her dress. They try everything. Finally, some folks get the idea. They wrap her body in silk scarves, slip the dress on over her, and then pull the scarves out. They say the dress is still so tight when she first puts it on. Now it loosens up during the day. It's so tight when she first puts it on. She can't sit down. She comes over here standing up in the back of a pickup truck. But she finally gets here. They can have the ceremony. Well, y'all see how dark it is in here right now, right? It's 6 o'clock in the afternoon. It's dark. The 45th uninvited guest, Carol, is at the bottom of the stairs. She says, I knew who was getting married. I wasn't going to miss that wedding. She's standing down there, sees how dark it is. Runs home, gets some lights. Y'all saw the picture that had the glow from the side? They get married by the light that she provided them. Wow. Wow. Amazing. So, they finally have the ceremony. Now, it's not a quick ceremony. I have any Catholics in here? I'm Catholic. It's a Catholic Mass. It's not a little short thing, folks, if you're not Catholic. It takes a while. Now, it's not a full-blown Mass, but it's still a Mass. It takes a little bit of time. But they finally have the ceremony. Everything's over. These people have been here for over 3 hours. They're hot, they're sweaty, they're hungry, they're thirsty, they're bug bit. Everybody jumps up, runs out, gets in the vehicles, heads down to the boats, goes back to Greenfield for the reception. Almost everybody. They forgot the bride and groom. They were over there talking to Carol and got left. Fortunately, a maintenance man goes driving by. Nasty old filthy pickup truck, probably hasn't been washed in 5 years. This is an opinion. Probably hasn't been washed in 5 years, you know. They flag him down and say, hey, we're stranded out here. You gotta help us out. Well, he knows who's about to get in his truck, you know. Everybody knew what the Kennedys looked like back then. So he knows the new Mrs. Kennedy is about to put her designer down white bottom in his nasty truck. So he's trying to get it cleaned up a little bit. Finally, they get in the truck. And the road that we traveled here today, they travel at night to get back to Grayfield. That's why I said imagine making this trip at night. And that's the Kennedy wedding. Burlap wallpaper on the walls with the family crest stamped on there after they hung the wallpaper. Tiffany lamp hanging down from the ceiling. The herringbone hardwood floor. Very wasteful when it comes to the wood that you have to get rid of when you're doing this design. Especially back then. Not as much so now, but especially back then. It's in here as much for the beauty as it is for that statement. Look what we can afford to do.
And that's not saying anything negative about Carneys. They had the money to spend. They could spend it. They wanted the best. They got the best, you know. It was their choice.
Isn't it $1 million home?
Now the furniture here, this furniture came from Dungeness. When Nancy and Dr. Johnson moved in here, they brought this furniture with them. But it's very representative of what Margaret would have had when her and George were here. Very heavy, ornate, statement kind of furniture. As opposed to what you're going to see in the dining room. Now I told you Various Johnston was a doctor. Not only was he a doctor, he was a Kentucky horseman. Had a farm up in Kentucky. He would bring some of those horses to the island with him. He also brought this dining room set. Very much more usable, livable kind of furniture with those 4 kids. Except for the candelabra in the middle of the table. That also came from Dungeness. It's so heavy it takes 2 people to move it.
Wow.
Nancy would change out this wallpaper to brighten the room up a little bit when they moved in, make it a little bit airier. Now, not only did Mama Lucy give them the $10,000 and the piece of property and the yacht, she gave them this beautiful portrait of herself to hang in the dining room so they could look up at her longingly or lovingly during all their meals. I thought it was very kind of her, yeah. That is the grand dame herself, Lucy Carnegie. Remember this door. We're going to talk about it a little bit later on today. Not right now, but a little bit later in the tour. But other than that, let's head to the next room.
How many rooms are there?
It's 44,000 square feet, 11 bathrooms. We don't know the total unit. So,
This is like $1 million home.
you see the fireplace in the dining room and the fireplace here. That's where the original $10,000 got them. That's where the house, the first part of the house ended. These were outside doors, and there was a deck back here. When they decided to expand with that extra money, they just left these outside doors up. I mean, they're beautiful doors. Why not just leave them? What I really want you to notice when we do go into the next room is how thick this outside wall was. Now, this used to be 2 rooms. When they expanded the house out, they took the wall down, made it one big library.
Oh my
The moose
God.
head on the wall over there, they killed that moose here on the island.
Oh my God.
All right, that's a lie. Y'all gotta question me about this stuff.
There's no moose on there.
That's a lie. It's a lie. It's not even original to the home.
It was Carnegie, they didn't do anything.
Run it over and shoot it.
There was a moose head up there that they believe Margaret killed on a hunting expedition in the Northwest. But even after so many years, you know, even the best taxidermy, they start falling apart. Somebody from St. Mary's donated this one to the home to replace the one that used to be up there. Tiffany wallpaper on the walls. This exact same wallpaper is in the home that she would build for her bookkeeper, William Page, over on Dungeness. That home is called the Grange. I'll point it out to you later today if we get over there, which we really should. All the books in the bookcases, mostly just old books, okay? However, a friend of the family, found some books that did belong in the home at one time, donated them back, and they put them in the bookcases. They won't show us which ones they are either because they don't want us to touch them. The furniture in here, again, much more Nancy and Dr. Johnson, usable, livable kind of furniture with those 4 kids. You see a Tiffany lamp on the table behind you over here, another couch. Also on the desk is another Tiffany lamp. That lamp had 4 lampshades with it, one for each season. In 1972, when they donated the home to the Park Services, they took the other 3 lampshades with them. They left this one because it represented that time when the family was normally here, that October to March time frame. See, it's got poinsettias on it for Christmas.
they would have been here during Christmas time. But
Do they make new cookies every day or no?
probably. Don't those look real? I mean, whoever did that did such a good job. All right, let's head into the next room. This room had two different purposes when George and Margaret lived here. Now, you can't tell it now, but the grounds used to be covered with gardens and flower beds everywhere. You know the little pond over there, the green stagnant pond? Well, they built that pond. There was actually a bridge that connected those two pieces of land. There was more gardens over there, so they had them everywhere. When George and Margaret lived here, this is where when the staff went out every day and picked those fresh flowers. They'd come in through this door, go back here, cut the flowers up, and put fresh flowers throughout the house every day. When Nancy and Dr. Johnston lived here, you know, he didn't have a medical practice on the island. But if somebody was really sick or hurt, they could come over here and he'd try to help them. He'd close these two big doors off, isolate the family. This would be like his waiting room for whoever came over. And that was his apothecary back there. You can even see a medicine bag and medicine bottles back there and all that. So he would try to help, even though he didn't have a medical practice on the island. On the bookcase over here, or the cabinet over here, whatever you'll call it, some of the things in here are original from when Nancy and Dr. Johnston lived here. They'd go out with those 4 kids and go scavenger hunting and go down to the beach and look for shells and all that kind of stuff. The Park Service has actually had a picture of what it used to look like, and they've plugged stuff back in there trying to recreate the way it was. Some of it's original, some of it's the stuff the Park Service has added. Now, the door, very important, especially when George and Margaret lived here. Margaret was of the strong opinion that the only time the staff should be seen was when they were needed for something. There was annunciators in all the rooms of the houses. They would call, like on Downton Abbey, you know, they would call them to a room. They'd come out to the back part of the house, see what was needed, go back behind, get it, bring it back out. Margaret considered it unacceptable for a staff member to go through the main part of the house unless there was a dire reason for it, a need, a big need for it. The desk, not part of Plum Orchard. It actually came from Stafford Plantation. Remember, that's the retained rights property of Lucy Flight Foster and Whit Foster. But they wanted to have something on display from Stafford Plantation. So they donated the desk. When the volunteers were cleaning it up, they found this note hidden in one of the drawers. It's signed by William Carnegie. Wow. Remember, he built Stafford Plantation in 1901. This was his desk. Now, the odd thing about it, it's a combination if you look real close. So if it's a combination and it goes to that desk, and there's a secret drawer over here. We don't know if it goes to that or if it goes to something else on the desk, or if it went to a safe somewhere. We don't know. But if it went to something on this desk, why do you hide it in the desk that it goes to? It seems kind of counterproductive. But also, why do you sign it? I mean, that's like signing a grocery list. We're glad he did, because that's how we know it was his desk. But why would he have done it? Now, let's head into the next room. Look at these big pocket doors that we're going in. Anybody see the gator one of the gators while you're out there? He was telling me last night she saw two. Small babies. So, this room had a lot of names. It was called the men's room, the smoking room, the game room, the music room, the family room. Had a lot of names. It's called the gun room, which seems very appropriate to me. All those cabinets, all those drawers are labeled with the type of ammo that was in each drawer. And you got the gun racks on the walls over here. So gun room makes sense to me of all the names that it had. Now the piano. Piano is of the era. We don't know that it's the piano that was in the home. We know it's of the same era.
Back before COVID, when we were bringing tour groups through here, if somebody in the tour group knew how to play the piano, they'd let them sit down and play a little tune so they could say they played in Carnegie Hall. But now it's a no-touch off. Now the Tiffany lamps hanging from the ceiling, custom made for the home. The outside is supposed to represent the tortoise shell from the island. Really very heavy, pretty lamps. Everybody has their own taste. I actually like the way they look from the underneath better. But everybody has their own taste. We just kind of bend down and look at the underneath part. To me, that's pretty. But everybody has their own taste. So now the table set up here. It's like this for a reason. Men and women would do everything together. Outside they would go hunting and fishing and horseback riding and down to the beach and play tennis on the tennis courts. Did everything together. When they came inside, again, they would still do everything together. Less things to do. I'll show you some of their entertainment a little bit later on. But less things to do. Socialize, and they would eat, and they would drink. It was a daily part of their lives. Much to the chagrin of some of them later on in life. But you got to remember the era. It was the Roaring 20s, the Gilded Age. Just think of the movie The Great Gatsby, you know, or the book The Great Gatsby. It was a daily part of their lives, and that's what that's their represent. The chairs have one of the more interesting stories to me. There was a man that had been assigned to do some cataloging of pictures. They were given these boxes of pictures they had found. They were supposed to organize them in some kind of historical manner as best as they could. He was over on Amelia Island one day, junk shopping. He was at one of those stores that says, antique/collectibles, walking through there making stuff. Sees these two chairs. He said, man, those look familiar. Gets back to his office, starts going through his pictures. These two chairs used to be in one of the yachts owned by the Carnegies here on the island. He ran back and bought them real quick, cleaned them up, and donated them to his home. They didn't make it back to the yacht, but they did make it back to the Carnegies, which I think is kind of cool. So, we're going to 1.5 times larger than this home.
Oh my God.
So, we're going to go from here, we're going to go through the ladies' closet into the ladies' dressing room. You will see clothes depicting the era. I say depicting the era because if you look real close, one of them says made in China.
Wow.
They depict the era. Also, as we're going through there, if you're not height challenged like me, watch your head. There's some low-hanging light fixtures.
This is the closet. Wow. Don't go into the bathroom.
All right, so in here we have 2 mannequins set up, one representing each of the ladies of the house. Over here is Margaret, very prim, very proper. On this side, Nancy, our wild child. Now, it was the Roaring 20s. This dress is actually very appropriate for that era. Doesn't change the fact that she was our wild child, but this dress was actually very appropriate for that era. I asked a lot of test questions in this house. This is the first one. What's this piece of furniture between the 2 mannequins? More specific.
A bed?
A fainting couch. Now, you didn't need it for Nancy, but Margaret. Remember, there's no air conditioning in this home. She's up here and they're putting that corset on her so tight that her eyes are bulging out of her head. She had to have a place to recover. This was her fainting couch. Now notice also back here, the hidden doors around the fireplace, extra storage space. Now let's head into the bathroom. This is where you can get off the red carpet and get on the tile.
Whoa. Look.
So, ultrasound started out with electrical.
Yep.
And those boxes.
It's a lot deeper than that. It's an optical illusion. Steps go all the way down for two reasons. One of you noticed there's no filtration system, so the pool had to be drained quite often. Made it easy for the staff to get down there and clean it. Also, it's so deep, kids couldn't play in it. What they would do when they were filling it back up, they'd let them go down the steps till they got to a certain depth. Then they had to get out. In the last 2 months, I've had 3 different people as part of my tour groups that when they were kids, their parents had those maintenance jobs on the island. You know, that 1 to 2 year assignment that I told you about earlier today. All of them had been invited here to go swimming while they were on the island. So when we came in here, it was like flashbacks for them, you know.
How deep did the water come up to? How high?
Came up just right, almost to the rail, to that 9 foot 6 inches to the rail. Now, 2 dressing rooms and a shower behind us. Why do you need dressing rooms? I mean, the house is right here, you know. Well, one, it would have been scandalous to go through the house in your bathing suit in that day. You just didn't do it. So that's part of it. The other reason, it's the same reason they had to drain the pool so often. A great heated swimming pool. Heated sulfur water. You came out of there smelling like rotten eggs. They wanted to be able to shower and put on fresh clothes. Now, let's head out of here. We're going to go.
Okay, so we are fixing to head back to Atlanta. We enjoyed Cumberland Island. It was really magnificent, and I hope everyone enjoyed our videos. If you get a chance, go to Cumberland Island, Georgia.
Cumberland Island down by the shore, beautiful dolphins, magical lore, sweet preservation, St. Mary's Tour in Georgia. All you have to do is go once, and the impression lasts a lifetime. Longing to go back for the solace, the connection with nature, never wanting it to change, and trusting it will always be there. All you have to do is go once, and you'll never be the same. Cumberland Island down by the shore, beautiful dolphins, magical lore, sweet preservation, St. Mary's Tour in Georgia. Oh, I love to walk through nature. You know, she never skips a beat. She's always there for me, as long as she's not hurt by humanity. All right, help me out here. The wind sounds like the tree breathes like the waves crash like whoosh. The sun rises like oh. Ooh, few weeks ago I heard it was threatened. My heart skipped a beat even though I'm so far away. And how many people like me would drive miles to save the Cumberland Island Way? I know they want to be here. They could not make the trip. They want this land to stay pure so they can come once more, so they can show their children what life's for, so they can feel belonging with the place they adore. You know they feel it in their core. Cumberland Island down by the shore, beautiful dolphins, magical lore, sweet preservation. I need you more than you need me. Oh, Cumberland Island down by the shore, beautiful dolphins and magical lore, and sweet preservation. St. Mary's Tour in Georgia. I love you, Georgia. I love you, Georgia. I love you, Georgia. I love you, Georgia.